than we are, but don't tell them we said that. Well, on Christmas Day, 18-year-old Ben Wilson was crowned the countdown champion.
18? Both ready, please now reveal today's final crucial conundrum. That's the buzz from Ben on 3 seconds.
Assistant.
Assistant, he says. It is. Incredible.
Well, Ben, who's been a member of Mensa since he was 6, is here with us now, along with Chris Leake, who's the chairman of British Mensa, and psychologist Sandra Scott, who I think I'm right in saying thinks a child's IQ should be irrelevant.
I wouldn't say it should be relevant. I don't think it should be put in perspective. Ultimately,
right.
You know, people sort of think of IQ, you know, as a, you know, smart. And basically, if you don't have a high IQ, then you're thick, and all these sort of other negative things that come into it. Yeah. And basically, IQ tests just measure some specific skills, and they're not the only skills we have. So it's like these skills are important, but they're not the only ones. All
right, but from the opposite side of the coin, Ben, you didn't really have it that brilliantly once you were defined as being so fantastically brainy at the age of 6, did you really? You were bullied at school to a certain extent.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly the high point of my school life, but it wasn't so bad.
Well, before you had the test, there were signs, weren't there, once you'd started your school career, that you were really way ahead of the pack, because it was like always your hand going up in class, wasn't it?
Yes.
And the other kids hated you for that anyway.
They weren't too fond of me for that.
How old were you when you had the IQ test done?
I was 6.
And what was the result?
The result of the first IQ test was a score of 178.
And the average is?
90 to 109.
So you're nearly double the average in terms of intelligence?
Yes.
You've taken subsequent tests. Has it ever gone down?
The second test I took, which was a Mensa one, score was 156.
Right.
That was a couple of months after the first one.
And, right, since, as you've got older and you've understood what intelligence and IQ and everything means, do you feel bored by the rest of us? Do you feel that you're having to wait for the rest of us in conversations, in shops, wherever, to catch up with you? Are you there in front of everyone else?
Not everybody is that thick, but...
But too many for your taste. I know, I'm not being nasty, but seriously, do you find you're drumming your fingers waiting for the rest of the world to come up with you?
No, because people are more interested in that. It's not as you say.
But I mean, nevertheless, the fact remains that your job, I mean, everyone expected you to go to university, didn't they? And, you know, do some incredibly intelligent job, I don't know, maybe a scientist or an engineer, whatever. But actually you work in a shoe shop.
Yes.
And so that wonderful brain of yours hasn't materially so far rewarded you with very much, has it?
Not yet.
What do you think's going to happen?
I'm going to stay in my job for the foreseeable future. I'm planning on maybe going to university next year, but...
I see, so is this kind of a gap year job then, working in the shoe shop?
No.
Potentially.
Potentially?
Yes.
Go on, no, what?
No, you took your A-levels,
yeah.
You didn't do as well as everybody thought you were because you were bored, and basically you decided you'd had enough of studying, that was it, and you weren't going to go to university.
That's basically it, yes.
And you thought you'd get a really high-flying job as an accountant or insurance, something like that, but you couldn't without the university qualification.
No. I applied for them, I just didn't get them.
Well, let's talk to the Mr. Mensa. Hello.
Hi.
Surely he's too young at 6 to be a Mensa. Isn't there an age limit that's much higher?
No, there's 2 parts. The Mensa won't apply the Cattell test, which is the usual test, until 10 and a half.
But if somebody else does?
But we will accept a number of other range of IQ tests, and that's how we'll get members. I mean, the members range from 4 years old to 101 years old.
But Chris, why on earth would anyone, you know, I'm not being rude here, but why on earth would it be important to anyone to join Mensa, to be part of that society?
I think one of the reasons is it's an excellent social club. There's a lot of networking. We've got activities going on all the time. We've got in London, around in the UK, we've got meetings every day of the year.
So it's not. I mean, is the social side of it important? That, I mean, does everybody think it's important that the only people they meet will be at their level?
I think that it can be more relaxing if you don't necessarily have to explain everything that some of the things you're saying. And,
but it's like any club. Any club, you know, it's always about having a common interest. You know, I think it shouldn't be so harsh. I mean, ultimately, if you've got a football club, you don't want somebody coming along and say they don't like football, or they don't understand the rules of the game.
But supposing, all right, I don't know if I could get into Mensa. I don't think I could. But if I were to gate crash a Mensa evening, right, okay, if I were to sort of come in...
Out like a sore thumb lump.
or somebody with of only average IQ, as the tests describe, and we'll come on to that in a second. You know, I mean, I'm probably a crashing bore anyway, but would you all find me a crashing bore? Would you think, oh, God, he's so thick?
I don't think so. I think people have a range of skills. I mean, what the Mensa IQ...
We all have our uses.
what the Mensa IQ
you're handling it very well,
measures is one aspect. It's one skill. It's your IQ.
Spatial awareness.
Spatial awareness, numerical, the skills,
the word
linguistic
you're looking for.
skills.
I'm glad I was able to help you. Go on.
But people have a range of other talents, and I think you go to a meeting regardless of who's there.
You'd be all right.
Okay, one more then about the IQ test itself. Now, psychologists don't like it. Psychiatrists don't trust it. What they tell us, we've done a bit of research. What they tell us is that you can learn to pass an IQ test, or rather get a high score, in the same ways that if you don't normally do... I don't do crosswords, but occasionally when I have a go, I get better quite quickly, right, until I get bored of them. That if you take a whole set of IQ tests in private, you'll start to learn the language, you'll understand the imagery, all those little funny drawings and things, and then if you go for a test, you'll get a much higher score than you would have got cold. True?
I think that doing something like taking the home test, if you're coming completely fresh to an IQ test, then yes, I could see that making a difference.
Right. Which
is one of the reasons we give the option of taking a home test, where you'll have a packet run through yourself, see the style of questions, and then go into the.
Fair enough. Okay, good answer.
I mean, you know, the fact that it's a social club and you all have a good time and you meet interesting people is great, but aren't you automatically setting yourself up for people to say, oh, thinks he's a lot better than we are, does he?
Elitism.
I think
by joining a society like that.
One thing I'm very pleased about is that going back a few years, there was a strong view of elitism, which totally isn't what the society's about. I think in recent years it's becoming much more cool to be clever. It's we're having more of a focus on the fact that coming onto the schooling and youngsters, you've got children, I think, who are very bright, are equally come across similar problems to people at the opposite end of the spectrum.
Sandra.
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly the point I wanted to make. Children at both ends of the spectrum, basically at school, when you tend to do better is when you're average and down the middle of the stream. But if you have a low IQ or high IQ, you tend to end up, both of you end up frustrated and bored. So ultimately, the bottom line is, when I said about sort of putting these things in perspective, these tests are only about certain skills, and for you at the party, you'd be better off for your social skills, which are not included in your IQ test, than you would be, with a high IQ.
Well, I must make a confession here. As you know, we're asking you, the viewers, some of these test questions through the programme. There's 2 more to come. And when we were setting them this afternoon, I just looked at it, and I did a Homer Simpson, total dead face, except for one, which Amanda, what's your title? I am the executive producer of this programme. Both
Whoever you are.
No, Amanda, I couldn't remember the title.
That woman upstairs.
There's titles flowing around it. We both got one of them like that, right? And were we proud, Amanda? We were punching the air. We felt great. So I can understand what's in it for you guys. But listen, thanks for being here. But we're not going to leave it here because...
Just one tiny thing. I was always told at school that this new research, which says that our kids are getting brighter to be brighter than us, that the children of very bright parents, 2 very bright parents, always tend towards the average. Yep. They tend towards the norm. They're very rarely of, a super intelligence.
I think that certainly, if you look at sort of intelligence, it's partly due to genetics, but it's also about environment. And sometimes what you can have is these 2 very bright people tend to have these sort of superpower jobs and not be around the kids very much, blah, 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 blah. It's a lot of the environmental effects. So basically, it's not just about being born with great genes, it's also about what you do with them.
Back to nature and nurture again, we always get there. All right.
Can't help it.
Thanks for being here, that was good. But as I say, we're not going to leave it because 2 of the more intriguing facts to come out of this new report on IQ in Britain. It's fantastic.